Yeah, I feel like we went to the Stone Ages. Like, I can still buy my tickets online, but I can't pick where I want to sit in them, even though they all have numbers.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name's Mike Royer.
And this week, a dark universe is born. Mike.
Born.
So dark.
I'm ready to hear.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, Sony is moving forward with their unwanted universe.
That's one way to put it.
That is very unwanted. The New Mutants also get a little scary. Ooh.
All right.
And more.
All right.
And more.
And so what have you been up to, man? It's the Memorial Day weekend. It's a longer weekend for us, so we've kind of postponed the recording that we usually do until later in the evening. So hopefully no surprising news has snuck up on us yet. Sometimes we'll be done with our recording and oh, big news just came out. So I think we've got it all for the weekend so far.
If you're listening to us on your Tuesday commute to work, so if anything's come out Monday, we don't know yet. We'll talk about it next time. But I keep up the notes. There's nothing going on here. But this weekend has just been a whirlwind. I don't remember what I did on Saturday. I need to really track down myself here because I've been playing Injustice 2, like I said, some video games. Not really watching a lot of TV shows. I've been filming a lot of new stuff. Got a lot of new projects in the wings coming up here, including
you're a busy man.
Including a new project called Animation Marvels, where we sit down and go through Marvel's animated video library, starting with movies and then moving through the TV shows and talking about what was good, what was bad. And that's hosted with my friend Brandon Jones, who hosts a podcast called Animation Destination. So
now that'll be really interesting, mainly because when people think of kind of these animated comic book movies, even TV shows, they're usually thinking about the DC stuff just because they always knock it out of the park with that. Their DC movies can be mature sometimes. They have awesome shows like Justice League and Batman the Animated Series. But I would actually, Marvel is very kind of unknown. I've seen a couple stuff crop up on Netflix every once in a while, and I've watched it, and it's been pretty good, but there doesn't seem to be any sort of direction or drive or path moving forward with any sort of animated Marvel stuff.
It's a very interesting beast because it happened between the early 2000s superhero boom and the Marvel Cinematic Universe as we know it now. And that's where they all kind of exist, except for some TV shows. We all know the X-Men show from the 90s and Spider-Man 90s TV shows, but these movies exist in this weird little framework, and they're half adaptations, half not adaptations. But it's really interesting to see our first episode. We talked about the Marvel's Ultimate Avengers animated movie, how the Marvel Cinematic Universe took a lot from that, actually. So the Cinematic Universe borrowed from these animated movies to become what it is today. So I think it's really awesome. I think our conversation, I know Marvel, he knows animation, and that combination just really clicks. So really
awesome, man. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. What about you, Mike? What about you? I don't know what you've been up to. We kind of went radio dark this weekend.
Well,
no real reason other than the fact we're busy.
Well, this weekend, since we live in beautiful Southern California, we hit up the beach, and like I've said on this show many times, Chris and I are very much inside cats. So I did my best to fare against the sun. It won a little bit. I did my best with sunscreen, so I got some awkward red spots on me from just awkward positions I was sitting down on. So I'm doing my best to remain as uncrispy as possible. But luckily, no burns. That keeps me from sleeping. Those are always the worst. You never want to get a sunburn on the side of the bed you sleep on, or some people sleep on their back, some people sleep on their side. Whatever it is, don't get burned where you sleep. Always think about that when you're outside this summer, because sunburns you can manage them, but if you can't fall asleep, it's just the worst. Man.
Oh man, I hate sun blisters. The worst. It's because it's a pain that doesn't go. No matter what you do, you can't just pop a couple Advil and it goes away. It's always there until it's done. So I hope you didn't get burnt too bad.
Well, summer tips directly given to me from my wife. When you get sunburn, drink plenty of water. And and as soon as like you're like done out of the sun, I guess you pop a couple ibuprofen, and that's gonna like help kind of stunt maybe some of the growth of the sunburn. I'm not 100% sure, so watch out there for the sun, everybody. But today I've been remedying any sort of sunburn with the new True Crime addiction that's out there on Netflix, which is called The Keepers. Chris, have you heard of The Keepers?
This is the first I've heard of The Keepers.
I think I might have been the first one that told you anything about Making a Murderer too back last year when I was addicted to that show.
Normally I like see things on like, you know, articles like you should watch this show or you should the show you should be watching now. This is the first I've heard of this completely.
Okay, I feel good because this is like brand new. So okay. I waited way too long to jump on Making a Murderer to where after I was done watching it, everybody was already done talking about it. But now The Keepers, it's like brand new. I think it just dropped maybe last weekend or maybe even this weekend is the first weekend. I'm not 100% sure. But it's all about this crime that happened back in the 60s where like this young nun died in Baltimore, and there's like all this craziness that circles around it in the Catholic Church and all these allegations popping up and people coming out of the woodwork and these investigations. And it's like crazy. I think there's like about 7 episodes. They're roughly about an hour long, and it's really addicting. It's not something you're going to be able to watch like one episode at a time. You're going to want to like binge watch the whole thing. So if you got like Memorial Day off on Monday, just like wake up and just like it's 7 hours straight, just like watch it. It's like super addicting. It's crazy. It's insane. Obviously has nothing to do with superheroes or superhero news, but sometimes, you know, you got to expand a little bit, go out to the true crime. Man, I cannot say true crime to save my life.
True crime. It's crew time.
Crew time. That's all you got to do. You can get your croutons on, but it's really addicting. So we're about halfway through that right now. Took a break just to record this podcast for all you guys out there. So consider yourself lucky, because if you start watching it, you're going to realize that it's hard to pull yourself away. So yeah, that's what we're watching today, and hopefully by like, I don't know, 1 a.m. tonight, maybe we'll be done with it.
All right, so that's a Netflix only series, correct?
Yes, The Keepers on Netflix. Okay. It will get you glued to your couch.
I just did a Google while you were doing that, and everyone's like, you should watch this, but like it was only like a day ago when they said this. So okay. Mike's ahead of that mill. Like he's going hard at it, giving us.
Well, I'm proud of you for doing a Google, Chris.
I did a Google, and I actually want to chime in with my own sunburn remedy. Last time I got one was actually apple cider vinegar on a cloth and rub it against your skin. Takes away the sting.
Well, maybe that apple cider vinegar has something similar to do with my wife's other tip of like green tea. I guess you drink it. I guess you also kind of rub it on your skin. Seems like there's stuff out there you can actually do for sunburn, so it's not the end of the world, I suppose.
It is. That's it. Once you get a sunburn's over, just you're done. That's it for life.
Yeah. So I guess enough about inside nerds talking about sunburns.
Yeah, right. You think we've gotten a few on accident over the years, but I mean, if we're gonna talk about things that are gonna make you want to just end your life, let's jump into this. The Sony universe. Now we forgot to mention this last week because it came up I think over the weekend or close to the weekend, but Sony is moving forward with their Venom film, and Tom Hardy has been quote unquote officially cast as Eddie Brock in this movie.
Yeah, and talk about confusing news, because that's kind of like dream casting right there. Like if you're sitting down with your friends talking about like what's the best way to actually make yourself excited for a Venom movie, it's to cast somebody good as Venom. And then when you throw Tom Hardy into the mix, which is basically everybody wants him in everything. Like Christopher Nolan loves him. He's been in superhero stuff before. So you're just like, okay, this is good. Like he actually kind of has like the build to it too. I mean, if he was quote unquote, I guess, big enough to play Bane in Batman, Bane has a very similar stance and fill size, I guess, as you could say Venom does. So that kind of works out. So
yeah, exactly. Tom Hardy is a great actor. I love what he does. Go back to, have you ever seen Bronson?
That's the movie where he like plays himself or something like that. There's two of them.
He plays a character, Charlie Bronson, who's a murderer. It's like a documentary kind of about him, and he like does that. So I don't know. There's two characters in there that he plays. Yes, because he has a twin brother.
Yeah, that's what it is. It was like he has a twin or something.
Yeah, so I loved him back in that, and people rock and roll. I didn't know he was in Sucker Punch, a Zack Snyder film. and stuff like that. But more people know him from Mad Max Fury Road. He was in Batman as Bane. But what people may forget that he has done is that he was up for the role of Rick Flag in Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember talking about that.
And then he backed out. And look how great that movie is.
Yeah, he made the right move.
So I don't think this is going to happen. I think Sony's been threatening us for years with these side Spider-Man villains, and they're like, we're going to do it, and I don't think they're really going to do it. I don't think this is going to happen. I think he'll back out or it'll get canceled.
You think this is going to go to the way of Gambit, maybe?
Maybe, quite possibly. One of those things. Again, like I said, it's not a promise; it's a threat at this point. Like they're just like, "We're gonna do it." That Sinister Six movie's right around the corner. I'm like, no. Stop.
It does kind of seem like maybe they're just. I feel like they're just kind of treading water and waiting to see how Spider-Man is gonna do coming up in July, and just to see if maybe if they don't have to do it, maybe they do. So. Maybe we'll hear more news after that. But, I mean, it seems like Sony will have to come pretty hard at Comic-Con because that'll be right after Spider-Man. So maybe we'll get some more news there.
Yeah, and it will be Sony, not Marvel, because this movie is not set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which gets a lot of people riled up.
And it's really bizarre and confusing at the same time because it's like, okay, I get that Sony and Marvel has the joint custody over Spider-Man. And I think technically, because it makes sense, because what Spider-Man does in his own movie reflects in the MCU, because obviously you have Iron Man in the movie, and Spider-Man, is jumping into the Avengers movies and everything like that. So it's just like, Tom Holland at some point in time, if Sony has any sort of degree of intelligence, will have Tom Holland cross with Venom, Tom Hardy, Eddie Brock. I mean, that makes total sense. So how can you say that's not in the MCU? Like, I get maybe you can say, Venom will never cross with anybody in the MCU, but it just seems weird to say it's not in the same universe. It just makes it too confusing.
Well, I mean, it's not. I don't think. I mean, you're just assuming Tom Holland will come over. I don't think he ever will.
Well, what's the point of a Venom movie if Spider-Man never shows up?
Exactly. And that's where people get confused, because the creation of Venom is the black suit came from Spider-Man and created Venom.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know how they're going to do it. Nobody really wants them to do it, but they keep threatening with us. But the director is the director of Zombieland. They announced that. Ruben Fleischer. And people like Zombieland.
Yeah, it's a fine movie.
So I don't see any problem with him. And it exists in this weird Sony Spider-Man universe. I don't know what they're going to call it. But it ties into our next topic. Silver and Black.
Oh, I think I know what this is.
Yes, so this is the official title of the Black Cat Silver Sable movie. Rather than calling it Black Cat and Silver Sable, they're going to call it Silver and Black. As of right now, which is okay. I think that cleans up the name. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we got to find some sort of positives, just go with the name.
Yep. And it will be directed by Gina Prince-Bythewood, who actually is doing the pilot episodes of Cloak and Dagger and has done other superhero, I believe, TV shows.
Okay.
So, again, if we're looking for positives, Mike, she's okay. And they're working from a script. I think she's working on the script from Chris Yost, who did Earth's Mightiest Heroes, who was a showrunner from that.
Yeah, I mean, that's positive. I mean, we're getting good things working here, but it's all under the roof of Sony, so that's where the trepidation comes from.
So the thing is, I'm okay with this because I think you could have these characters exist without Spider-Man and be totally fine. Because they can be they're very generic. Like Silver Sable's a mercenary, Black Cat is a Catwoman light. So I think that having some distance from Spider-Man is okay, but they've released these early synopsis, or at least they were leaked here, and we're gonna at least kind of go through here, talking about how this character Mendel Stromm and his two henchmen, the Scorpion, wink wink, and the Tarantula, killed Silver Sable's father, and now she's supposed to find Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat, somewhere in South America. Okay, sounds like a typical spy movie. This sounds like James Bond, or not James Bond, Mission Impossible, right off the bat.
That sounds weird. That's what it sounds like.
It does, but that's okay. I'll take weird over, confusing. If I had to choose between two, I'd take weird over confusing. But what they're going to do, it sounds like going on, if you read the synopsis here, they're going to include the chameleon. Felicia has been genetically enhanced, a mad scientist, has been backed by Norman Osborn. It sounds like they're just throwing all that they can at this movie, and including characters such as Dominic Fortune, Jessica Drew, who's known as Spider-Woman, Kraven the Hunter, Tombstone, and Charles Standish. Like, these are all huge Spider-Man characters you may remember from the 90s animated series. They're just throwing them in one movie. And I'm like, nope.
Yeah, it just
calm down.
Yeah, it sounds like they still don't know what they're doing. They're just throwing everything at the wall. Someone came in and took a picture of the whiteboard and was like, "Okay, I guess this is what our movie's gonna be." I think it's fine. I think there might.
Do you think they built like a web diagram for the Spider-Man and just started like, all these characters are connected, let's use them all?
Yeah. So I mean, when it comes to Silver Sable, Black Cat, and Venom, I think there are ways that you can start them in their very own movie without Spider-Man in there. You know, I think that can happen. I think any good storyteller and director, you know, can make a movie out of that. Even Venom. You know, actually one thing that is kind of maybe even slightly unfortunate when it's come to the symbiote, at least in some of the canon of Marvel, is that thing just by happenstance shows up on Earth. You know, it's just like by the stroke of luck that symbiote attaches to Spider-Man. You know, sometimes I guess it like crash lands on a rock, as we saw in the Spider-Man movie. Sometimes it comes down like on a spaceship, but it's usually just by chance of fortune. So maybe they can find a way to make it more like, oh, we did this. I think, what was it in the Ultimate Universe? Like Peter Parker's dad was making the Venom?
Yeah, so Peter Parker and Eddie Brock's dad were creating this anti-cancer suit.
Yeah.
And that created the Venom thing.
Yeah,
and that's why it had like a connection with them.
Yeah, I kind of like that, and I think that could work, and I think that's okay. But eventually they got across to Spider-Man. I honestly don't give a shit about a Venom movie, and I don't care about a Black Cat movie if they eventually are never gonna like team up with Spider-Man, because that's the whole joy of these characters. Like, and if Spider-Man is never gonna be involved, why even make the movies with this IP? You know, it's just like, just go make literally any other spy movie with like kick-ass women in it. They don't need to be in the Spider-Man universe. Like, just invent something from the ground up, you know? Like, so Spider-Man has to show up in these, or I'm just never gonna care.
Well, I think it has to do with producer Avi Arad, who has done like a lot of that, and he's got like this hard-on for like Norman Osborn. Like, if you look at all the movies he's produced, Norman Osborn is in all of them, pretty much.
That guy, I can't stand him.
And that's this, and he's the problem. But I think like, look, we have to give him something if we're going to be still working with Marvel, so he doesn't fuck up our deal. So maybe it's a playground, maybe it's a false hopes. Again, we'll never see until it happens. So, a lot of characters, a lot of trouble there.
A lot of characters.
A lot of characters. But that's okay, because I'm going to go out on a limb here and say we have our first teaser poster for Spider-Man, the animated movie. Something Mike's just as equally not thrilled about. But I'm okay with this. I don't know why, but I like what I'm seeing here, Mike. It's like a spray painted spider logo.
Well, did we ever? So I've been comparing. You know, I can't compare a lot of stuff to the Gambit movie coming. You know, because who knows if it's ever gonna like rear its head. Did we ever get any sort of official poster for any Gambit stuff out there? I wasn't sure if we did or not.
No official artwork, logos, or posters, but he did appear on a photo with other mutants after the
That is true. So I guess technically now I don't know if I can use that comparison, because it looks like this has stepped past Gambit and has moved into at least creative artwork. So obviously I'll just go back to my original thoughts of just I have no idea where an animated movie sets. Like, I guess the only thing
it is a Miles Morales film.
Yeah, which is cool.
That could be Ultimate Universe, so that could totally exist outside of everything else we've ever seen.
Yeah, so but it's just like the last time we got one of these was Big Hero 6, but it was under Disney's control. So I just don't know what's going on here. I need to see a trailer. I need to see what it's going to look like. I need to see what it's going to feel like. So if it's winter 2018, and I believe the last time we talked about this movie, they had screened some sort of test footage or something for an audience. So they got something out there that they can show off, and maybe they'll show it off at basically what I'm saying everything's going to be showed off at, which is Comic-Con.
Well, it's Comic-Con, or again, this, if you look in the bottom right, this is Columbia Pictures and Sony Pictures Animation. If the Emoji Movie tanks, and that report is true, that they will sell off Columbia if the Emoji Movie tanks, which we're hoping it will, they may never even go through with this. So maybe they're just giving us little bits at a time.
Yeah,
that
maybe.
Way they don't have a lot out there, but when it inevitably tanks and they have to sell it off.
Oh, man, I can't stand those emoji billboards around town. So
I've not seen any, thank God, but I do not envy you as well.
Yeah.
So, but that's okay because we're going to talk about the real Spider-Man, the real one. This is the true Spider-Man for Spider-Man: Homecoming. You were mentioned Spider-Man: Homecoming earlier, and I forget why. Oh, it's tracking to actually make more money than any other Spider-Man movie has made opening.
Wow.
So, this kind of surprised me a little bit, but I am impressed with that. So, go Spider-Man. And then we got 2 trailers this week, not just one, but 2.
Why do I have to live in a world where Spider-Man news actually stresses me out?
Yeah, so we got 2 trailers. One's a domestic trailer. Trailer number 3 is what we'll call it. So it's pretty, not a lot of new footage. It's got a little bit of, you get to see more of the Vulture a little bit. It's, if anything, this is the less, if I was compared to the last one, less spoilery than trailer 2, if you want to say trailer 2 spoiled things. We haven't seen the movie, we don't know. But it's got a lot there, and I actually found out a fun fact about this movie this week as well. I thought the girl Liz Allen that Spider-Man was staring at in the trailers was the actress Zendaya. That's not her.
Oh, all right.
That's the girl who's next to them that says, "You guys are weird." That is her.
Oh, well, you can tell from my shock and surprise that I did not watch the trailer. Out of
I don't even think you would know that. Like, you still don't know that from the trailer. I had to go Google search this. I'm like, they said Zendaya girl's playing a Michelle, which is obviously an allusion to Mary Jane. And I'm like, who is this actress? Like, how does the hot girl end up here? And it wasn't her at all. I was very confused. And I'm like, who are these young actresses? I'm getting old.
Yeah, exactly. That's how you know you're getting old, when you can't keep track of these up-and-coming people. There's probably people out there like, what do you mean you don't know who this person is? They're like a Snapchat star. They got like millions of followers.
Yeah, it is. So I totally didn't get that. And then the international trailer, just to throw that out there real quick, starts off showing Civil War from Peter Parker's point of view. Like, he's filming like on his phone in the shadows.
Oh, yeah. I think I saw a little bit of that on Instagram. Basically, I'm so in the dark with these trailers because out of protest, I'm not watching them. Because, like you said, that last trailer, in my opinion, gave away way too much. I just can't.
As from someone who didn't finish it, I don't believe you at all. But go on.
I can't trust Sony with the way they're cutting the movie. Cutting these movie trailers, and we'll talk about it here in a second, but I also can't trust them with the way they design their own posters. So anything that Sony has to do with this movie, I don't like. But I believe at the very core, it's Marvel Studios that is making the actual film. So I'm just trying to obscure I'm just trying to get the stuff that's obscuring the view of the actual film out of my way.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, to me, I actually enjoy trailer 3 more than 2. I just think it's more of a, you get to see more of what the suit does. The suit has its own AI system, and it does this like glowy thing whenever he activates it. I don't know if that's just to show, hey, it's activated, or it's scanning them. He's got all sorts of web combinations, it says, like several hundred different ways to shoot his webs. And we've always seen that in like the old, cartoons and video games, that he could like shoot a web ball or like create web hands, like fists to punch with. But like, it doesn't make any sense if he's webbing his own hands up. How's he get that off of there? It doesn't make sense. So I think they're going to be smart, bring him into the modern era. Really excited for it. And you talked about the posters. I honestly, I could blink and forget the posters. They're very red and blue, and that's about all I remember.
Well, there's 2 posters out there. There's the good one, which I believe is the international poster. It looks like a comic book cover. Like Spider-Man's taking this very like dynamic stance. The Vulture is behind them. Very simple, straightforward, action-packed. And then you got this ridiculous one that literally has almost every character in the movie, with the exception of maybe like Donald Glover on it. It's just very.
He shows up. He shows up in the trailer. Trailer 3 for a clip.
Yeah, that's what I hear, Chris. I have heard that. I have not seen it, but yeah, the other trailer is just gross and garbage. It looks like it's not finished, and it looks like it had a hand of a ton of producers in it. As from someone who like does like design like for a living. Like, obviously, this is going to irk me more than most people would. Like you said, you just kind of blinked and looked over them. But like what I see is just unprofessionalism on the level of this poster. And there's a lot of other people out there on the web that have an opinion about it. But then, of course, there's the majority of the people that just don't care about it. So obviously, I know I'm in the minority here. But short story is there's one good poster out there and one bad poster.
Yeah, posters don't sell me on the movie because I've seen the footage, and I'm really excited for Spider-Man, more so than the other movies we have to see between now and then.
I just got to get to the movie, man. I just got to keep dodging all this bullshit.
We got to get there. It's, I guess, on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday will be a month away, or like at least 1 month gap in there. So we're getting there, closer and closer. Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, or whatever it's called, the ride that opened up at Hollywood, or not Hollywood, Disney, California.
Yeah, Disneyland California Adventure.
I just opened up today, and so wait lines for regular non-Fast Pass people are 7 hours.
Whew.
And Fast Pass wait lines are 5 hours.
Jeez. I guess just to give a little context, I think the longest I've ever waited in a line at Disneyland is maybe about an hour at most without a Fast Pass. So that is ludicrous.
Yeah, it's stupid. And that's like, opening weekend, of course, at a Disney.
Yeah.
And doesn't Disney California only have one park?
Well, the way it works is Disneyland itself has like two parks. You have to buy 2 tickets for each of them. One is like the main park that's been there for years. It's the main flagship park with all like the main stuff in it. And then California Adventure was something that I guess was opened maybe 20 years ago. I don't know how long. It's relatively new compared to the park. But yeah, there's other stuff over there, and I guess you can drink over there. That's the only park you can find liquor in, I guess. But I have not been to the California Adventure section of the park, but that's a different ticket. But I guess that's where Breakout is.
Yeah, so it's there. But not only are the wait lines on our news topic here, there are, as you queue up to get in the right line for this ride that I will never ride, you walk by props from the MCU because this is technically set in the collector's vault.
So are you saying you're never going to ride this ride because the type of ride it is?
Yes, I rode the Tower of Terror, and I hated myself every minute afterwards.
Yeah, it's one of those drop rides.
Yeah, you go through it, and it's cool and fun, and all of a sudden it goes dark, and you drop, and you're like, nope. And then they open up the windows, and you can see across the park for as far as it is. Then it just drops you. I think they go up to, say, 30 to 40 mile per hour downward force. Mm-hmm. And when we did that for our honeymoon last year, nope, never again. So, but I might just wait in line until I'm supposed to get on just to see all these cool props and stuff. Because there are 2 new props on this that might be Marvel Cinematic Universe expansions. They might just be teases. But first up is what's called an Asgardian Warhammer. Mm-hmm. And the inscription says, originated in the Dwarves' Forge on Nidvalir, this finely crafted object is made of the powerful stone Uru, which is the same as Thor's hammer. And if you look at the shape here, it's got a flat end and a little bitty stubby axe end. And this is the exact hammer wielded by Beta Ray Bill of Thor fame.
Exactly, which I believe you pointed out maybe an episode or 2 ago. He's very much an alien, but he looks like a horse
yes.
to anyone else. So I think this has to be pointing to something coming eventually. I mean, this has been very official rollout of a ride. Like, if you follow like James Gunn on Instagram and stuff like that, and Facebook, he was there like for opening when the ride opened. They have all the voice actors, coming in for their stuff. This is like it's official as it gets.
Yeah, Kevin Feige's there. He was riding the ride with them.
Yeah, I mean,
this is the cinematic universe whole department rollout.
Yeah, if Feige's there and you're seeing this, I'm thinking he's got to show up. And if I have to see Beta Ray Bill in something, I mean, maybe depending on how the tone of Ragnarok, maybe it would make sense if he shows up in Ragnarok. But I could see him maybe showing up in Guardians. I think that kind of fits aesthetically.
Here's a fun fact. In the Planet Hulk animated movie, they swapped out Silver Surfer from the comics with Beta Ray Bill. Mm-hmm. So maybe he is, I mean, it would be such a throwaway, but maybe he's a contender or a character in the upcoming Ragnarok movie as a contender on there.
That would be crazy. I think I would lose it if I saw him pop up on the screen. But as I've said before, that's what I want from these Marvel movies now. I want to be surprised. And we got that a little bit of surprise. I guess maybe I'll wait. Spoilers still. Maybe someone hasn't seen Guardians of too, but that end credit scene was like a surprise. We didn't know that character was coming, so this is cool. I hope this is leading towards somewhere.
Yes, and next as I click on it is what are called unknown mysterious artifacts, and these say that they were found at the bottom of the Terran Ocean. Very little is known of the civilization that created them. So if they're found at the bottom of the ocean, Mike, who do you think they belong to?
This has got to be Namor, man.
Atlanteans, and they look like they're bound up with seashells and fancy jewels and stuff like that. So I think, we reported months ago that the Submariner project is building up in Hawaii right now. So what if this is a prelude to a Namor something or other?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be I would say a little bit of a creative challenge for Marvel. Is that I think that Aquaman movie with Jason Momoa is going to drop before a Namor movie will, just because the timelines are in their favor. And Aquaman is way more famous and popular than Namor is, and more well-known. So how do you kind of take almost very similar type of characters that both live under the ocean, and like how do you separate them apart in your two different universes? It's kind of one of the few times where DC and Marvel really cross very closely when it comes to their types of characters. Like, I know Darkseid is kind of similar to Thanos a little bit, but nobody really knew who Thanos was anyway. A little bit more people know who Darkseid is, but they visually...
I'm going to go the other way because of the Infinity Gauntlet story in the 90s was huge.
Well, and then they visually they look a little different, and they're technically, I guess, like aliens, so they could be from different parts. But I mean, this is very much Earth, oceans, Atlantean, Atlantis. It just all crosses. So I'm going to be curious to see how they try to separate themselves.
So, I mean, I think this is very similar to, more likely to the Flash and Quicksilver scenarios. And I think they can do it, but I don't think Namor will make it to film. I think he's going to get a soft launch somewhere in like a TV film or TV or Netflix launch.
Yeah, I guess maybe. Water's always...
Much like Ghost Rider did.
Yeah, water's always really expensive, though. So I always feel like water stuff is, held to movie budgets. But I guess we'll see. Time will tell. If a Fantastic Four somehow makes its way back to Marvel, I think Namor in film makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, it might. I can't see how it works. I think, it's one of the... Again, like I said, it's an awkward thing. If they can figure out some way to maybe tie it into Inhumans or S.H.I.E.L.D., I don't know. We'll see how it works. But I think this picture alone feels very good for that. So I like the artifacts. I like the fun. But
I can say I'm going to try very, very hard to check out this ride at some point in time this year. And the best part, sometimes the best part about these rides are actually waiting in line, because they go all out. Disney goes all out in their parks, even when it comes to lines. Like when you're waiting to go through the Star Wars rides, you get to see C-3PO and droids interacting and moving around. So I'll let you guys know whenever I get a chance to see it.
Mm-hmm. Did you say droids?
Yeah, droids, man.
Droids are great, because the next thing is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Because I had no way to segue in that, and you did it. So there's a new photo gallery of the film. A bunch of Vanity Fair photos, I believe. And these are very, very cool photos, I think. I like looking at them here. So like they feature the core characters on similar locations. So we get like Daisy Ridley and Mark Hamill on the watery planet, the original Jedi planet, it looks like there. So they got that going on. Then we get Rey training with her lightsaber. I think that's really cool. I don't know if you're watching these as I go through them as well, Mike, but...
Yeah, no, I'm looking at them here. This is a very well-defined piece here that Vanity Fair did for Star Wars, and all of these photos are very well staged. They're not like set photos or like set visits. Like they are very much like, let's get these people in their costumes. We're gonna set them in environments that we're used to. It's gonna be very nice pieces. They're like they're kind of like saturated in this kind of like authentic antique looking way. I mean, these are all really cool looking photos.
No, yeah. I mean, you would think they were almost screen caps of the film if you didn't know better. Like they just done them so well. And then we get Rey and Chewie in the Millennium Falcon, so we know it gets to go forward there. Then we get to see, Carrie Fisher, BB-8, the Resistance here with Rose Tico is the new character. Kelly Marie Tran as Rose Tico. I don't know what she's going to do, but apparently maybe she plays a big role in this. But they're all looking pretty scruffy. Pretty new scruffy looking Nerf herders here. And then we get down and they get this weird spread piece here of, it looks like some sort of alien ballroom. It's called the Canto Blight Casino. And you kind of get to see a bunch of these alien creatures, and someone thought one of these was a Bothan. Because we've never physically seen a Bothan in a Star Wars movie. It was not. But it just kind of looks like, I don't know, real puppet people, and I don't see any CG ones that look overly CG, but
yeah, and I mean, out of all these photos, we get very like nice sentimental ones with Leia in there, which is very important because these might be some of the last like professional photos that she ever took. So it's really great that we have them. There's a really sweet one where she's being embraced by Luke, which is it's really great. But news-wise, I think, is this like the first official look that we get of Benicio del Toro?
Well, yeah, so we have Laura Dern first in the article as Vice Admiral Amelin Holdo. She's got purple hair. You may recognize her from Jurassic Park, actually. And then Benicio del Toro as DJ, a very shifty character. So these are brand new additions and brand new looks of these characters here in the universe. And I don't have anything to say. I mean, that doesn't reveal a whole lot from their pictures. Like, they kept them very, very vague, it looks like, for a reason. I
think the best takeaway here is the kind of tone they're setting for this movie. I would say at least The Force Awakens, marketing-wise, was kind of treated as very, like, new, bright, exciting, fun, energetic, and this is kind of, as some might say, very Empire Strikes Back feely. It's
kind of somber.
Yeah, is this going to be the Empire Strikes Back of the Star Wars movies? Who knows? But yeah, this should get you excited.
Yeah, and I think the last one, goes on. I forgot that General Hux was a character in the Star Wars films, simply because in The Force Awakens he is so forgettable. So the last photo is you get all the villains kind of mean mugging the camera here, including Captain Phasma with her mask off. Do you think we'll get her mask off in the film, or do you think she's going to be stormtroopered up the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. I mean, everyone was excited to see this Chrome Trooper just like bust out and be badass, and was inevitably like thrown down a garbage chute. So hopefully she gets some revenge. She's too badass. A stormtrooper that is chromed out is too badass to just throw down a garbage chute. We got to see her do something.
Yeah, we got to see something happen. So, yeah, there's a huge library of photos here. Go through them, scroll through them, take them in, and just kind of look at them. I think they're cool. So we'll hold out for more Star Wars news as we move forward. Also, Star Wars 9. The reports are it won't begin production until after this one's out, but like a month after The Last Jedi is in theaters.
They got to keep the train rolling, man.
Yeah, and also with that moved up release date for it, they need to crank it out within, I guess, almost a year and a couple months from that. So, go Star Wars! Woo! Surprise announcement this week is Universal's Dark Universe. Universal's Dark Universe is so hard to say, but they are now officially announcing their Monster Cinematic Universe, with The Mummy being the first one. And we've got some new additions to this universe, including Javier Bardem and Johnny Depp, who you might have seen in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie this weekend, if you went out and watched that. So here are who they're going to play, Mike, and you give me a yes or a no if you agree with it or don't agree with it.
Okay, I guess it doesn't matter whether I agree with it, right? Because they've already been paid.
Well, yeah, but you can be like, yeah, I agree with this, or no, I don't agree with this.
All right.
They could have done better. So Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. If we don't see him, I think it'll be fine. Javier Bardem as Frankenstein's monster.
Oh, I mean, I could kind of see him getting CG'd and hulking out a little bit, kind of how Mark Ruffalo was. So yeah, I guess that could work.
He's got the Frankenstein face. So
yeah, he's got that jawline, man.
Yeah, and that like that 1,000-yard creepy stare sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll give it to him. Russell Crowe as Dr. Jekyll / Mr. Hyde. Mm-hmm. And we'll see him in The Mummy. Sophia Boutella as the Mummy. Will she make it out of this next movie? I don't know. Is this telling, or is this just hype? And lastly, Tom Cruise as some dude.
Some dude, which I think you've talked about on the show. Maybe he's the Wolfman or something?
Someone said Wolfman. I think he's a Van Helsing descendant.
Yeah, that might make more sense. The thing is, when you look at this photo, if you told somebody this photo is for a movie and you just knew nothing about the movie at all, you would think all of these people are in a crew together. They're all like team members of something, maybe even Avengers style type of thing. No one really stands out here to look as like a villain or a bad guy. So like when you're setting up the Mummy, as a bad guy that Tom Cruise is facing off against, and quote unquote the Mummy. Is he also going to be fighting bad guy Frankenstein and bad guy Invisible Man? Is Tom Cruise's job not to kill them but turn them good by the end of the movie? And after a couple summers go by and we have a handful of films, does it become like his crew of monsters that fights an even bigger monster? Because if we don't see Wolfman, guess what? We also don't see Dracula. And I feel like Dracula could end up being the big bad because he seems like a guy who could be smart and savvy enough to try to, take over the world.
I think vampires, like old mythology, they could like mind control people. So that would make sense if he's mind controlling people from the shadows.
Yeah, maybe. So it's just weird to think how they're going to bring it all together. We've said from the very beginning that the idea of this dark universal monster universe just seems interesting. It seems it's not exactly fresh and new, considering I think we link to a video in our show notes where it kind of shows a supercut of all these old movies of the monsters. So we've seen all of this stuff before, but this is just kind of like a new interesting take where instead of just like mining comic book properties, they're just like, hey, let's just mine our monsters. So I think it's kind of an interesting take, and Tom Cruise might be crazy in real life, but he makes good movies, so hopefully The Mummy's good. I don't know if I'm going to go out and see it opening weekend, but I feel like maybe like a Saturday morning matinee where I have the cheapest ticket price imaginable. Maybe that's the best way to go see it, just to test the waters.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and I need to watch to see if there's an after credit scene. Now they've announced these people, they can put them in the after credits. And I feel like Johnny Depp is in every franchise because he's in the Harry Potter and this and Pirates. Like, what's that guy not in right now?
Well, apparently I hear words that he's in like financial trouble, so maybe he really needs this movie. He needs all of these franchises to start paying off.
Well, that's fun. But also in the video, there's teases of vampires and Black Lagoon creatures we've seen, other Universal monsters. Actually, the next movie they've announced is Bride of Frankenstein. It's set in this universe.
Cool.
So they're not just doing straight up Frankenstein's creation. Like, here's the Bride of Frankenstein. So I'm okay with this. Yeah,
like, it could be fun. It's got that Frankenstein movie has got to be better than that weird eye Frankenstein we got like 2 years ago. I don't think anybody even remembers it, to be honest.
Yeah, I forgot that existed. Well, actually, do you remember Dracula Untold? You heard about it?
Oh man, I feel like when you said it, I saw like a frame of the trailer, but then that's literally all I got.
So the guy who played Gaston in Beauty and the Beast, I forget his name off the top of my head. He was the Dracula in Dracula Untold, and that was supposed to originally kick this off. Oh, but it just tanked all around. So they may have to redo the rest.
It didn't have Tom Cruise in it. If you're going to launch a franchise, you might want to start with Tom Cruise.
You got to start with the big name, Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise, one of the two. And they went this route. Because Brad Pitt does and Tom Cruise were both vampires in Interview with a Vampire.
There you go. It all comes back around to vampires eventually.
It all does, eventually. So, that's okay. But, they're calling this Dark Universe, and I kept thinking, why does this sound so familiar, Mike? That's because DC has been working on something called Dark Universe, also known as Justice League Dark. And I've been very confused until I was like, okay, great. So Justice League Dark, and as soon as this Dark Universe was announced, this week, they announced Justice League Dark. The director, Doug Liman, who I believe was in charge of Gambit at one point, has exited this project as well.
First it was Guillermo, and now we're losing Doug Liman. Maybe Universal was just like, we don't think that movie's ever going to get made. Let's just go ahead and move forward with the Dark Universe nomenclature, because DC, they had their chance.
Yeah, they didn't pull their trigger fast enough, so we're naming it. And so he's out of the film, but rumors are that this Argentinian director Damien Zizafran, who was supposed to helm Universal's $6 billion man movie that hasn't been made yet, is maybe in talks next to take this over. So maybe settling on those foreign directors, they tend to have an interesting sense of horror and darkness. Guillermo del Toro did. I mean, he definitely does.
Yeah.
So maybe it'd be okay, but I just think they just need to go ahead and stop talking about it and just start doing it.
Exactly. Like, I'm positive we had an entire news segment where we talked about Doug Liman joining the project and how we felt about it. So I don't feel like we should waste time talking about how we feel this foreign director is on the movie, because who knows, in 2 months we could be talking about how he's exited the movie. So let's just wait.
If we talk about it, it's probably not going to come true. That's what I'm learning about here. Continuing the DC trend, another Justice League movie. Just regular Justice League got some tragic news here, I guess, this week. With Zack Snyder and his wife Deborah Snyder, who's a producer on the films, have to exit Justice League due to his daughter dying back actually in March.
Yeah.
Not even recently.
It's just super sad. I believe the story was he was going to keep it quiet, just because when tragedy happens, you don't just let the whole world know, you want to keep it to yourself. And it seems like he would have been able to let that happen, but these Justice League reshoots came up because it seems like the movie's not doing too well, so we got to, help fix and triage the movie, reshoot a bunch of stuff, and they're like, Zach, we need you to come back in, and he's just like, dudes, like, I just lost someone in my family. I believe it was his daughter committed suicide. He's like, he's not gonna come back in and try to fix the movie. Like, he literally cannot do it, and I don't think anyone would blame him for taking a break from the movie. So I hope things turn up better for Zach, because that's super sad.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and just everything Mike said was pure speculation. I'm gonna tell you what really happened, because I read he had an interview this week as well about this, where he was like he wasn't going to tell him, but he wanted to go back into work, and just if he focused on the work, he could forget about everything that happened. Well, his family wasn't dealing well with it. So when his family wasn't dealing well with it, that's when he decided he needed to step away. And in news that nobody wants to celebrate, Joss Whedon is taking over Justice League.
Yeah,
from now until the end.
Talk about some uncomfortable news right there, because I think the comic book community, for the most part, really loves Joss Whedon. Age of Ultron, mixed reviews there, but, he brought the Avengers to life on screen. Everybody loved that. He made Firefly. Everybody loves him. So if it had to go to somebody due to this tragic loss, I guess we can be lessen our worry that Joss Whedon is stepping up to the plate for Justice League. And also, this isn't his first foray into DC. I guess officially maybe it is, but he's supposed to be working on the Batgirl movie too. So it seems like he's in the DC family right now, just helping out. So we got Uncle Joss, Grandpa Whedon, depending, I guess, the age range. He's coming and he's like, "Don't worry, guys, we got this loss, but I'm gonna help everyone feel better." He's just going around giving everybody hugs. I want a Joss Whedon hug, man.
Yeah, well, it's good because if you think about it, the time they announced Batgirl was in March when all this kind of went down, and Joss has been working on the film already, just like with these upcoming reshoots. So he was actually already in control of the reshoots and re-edits of the film that we reported about last week. Remember, we were talking about them.
Yeah,
and we were like, well, I hope they are doing this. It could be for good. Well, Joss was in charge of those, so I actually feel much better about it now already.
Yeah,
the film as a whole.
It's just crazy. It's just a whirlwind of news, and I believe Snyder, he said he didn't want to tell the world because he didn't want these rumors to be spreading around. People didn't want to think he was like being booted from Warner Brothers or something like that because he was, taking a leave from the movie. So it's just crazy, the kind of stuff that can whirl around there on the internet. Yeah.
And like, again, like I said, it's good news. Nobody wants to celebrate, like a transition. Because, even though we've given Zack Snyder shit for years on all the movies, like, we don't wish ill on people.
Yeah, that's a totally different level. That's the same reason. It's kind of like the same type of analogy where I can be like, I can like Tom Cruise movies and totally disagree with his personal life. Like when you're ingesting this stuff like from Hollywood and entertainment, you gotta be able to separate kind of like the creative from the personal, and just you gotta silo this stuff off and treat it how it should be treated. So I wish all the best to Zack Snyder, and let's hope this Justice League movie is good.
Yeah, good. Hopefully, good future for everybody going forward. So, cross fingers there. Wonder Woman coming out this Thursday. You said you had something you want to talk about Wonder Woman. I just wanted to say that it was coming out this week, and we'll be having a spoiler cast next week.
Well, I think people are kind of like you said, there's a lot of weird hype with this movie right now. And I feel like everybody has pre-written their blog for this movie, which is like really annoying. I feel like everybody's getting the think pieces ready. Like, okay, what's gonna be our unique take on this first female superhero movie? What's gonna get us the most clicks? What like female feminist headline can we throw on our Wonder Woman movie blog? And it's just like, whoa, people, like, just like take a step back. It's just a movie. Like, a lot of people are hinging so much on this. They're saying like, oh, well, if this movie's bad, people are gonna think female superhero movies can never be good. And it's just like, they're not gonna extrapolate that from one movie. I mean, Suicide Squad was a bad movie, and no one's thinking, oh, well, you can't do a movie with villains anymore. Like, no one's thinking that. So, like, I think people are just extrapolating this, like, too much, putting, like, too much weight on this female-led movie. Like, I think it's awesome that it got greenlit. I hope it's great, but if it's not, I'm not, like, if Wonder Woman is a bad movie, I'm not going to think Captain Marvel is going to be a bad movie. That's just a stupid analogy to make. Like, you just got to look at the movie as itself. I hope it's good. The trailers look good. I've started to hear good early buzz about the movie, so I hope that, rings true. We talked about that a little last week. You personally think it's maybe not all maybe accurate, but, we'll just have to wait and see. The movie's coming out we'll be talking about it next week.
Yeah, we definitely will. We'll be talking on Spoilercast next week. I have not bought my tickets yet. I don't believe you have either. That tells you how pumped we are to get that.
Well, the hype isn't as necessary. Like, I buy my Guardians tickets and my Star Wars tickets as soon as possible, because if you don't, the seats are literally sold out. With Wonder Woman, it seems like people are maybe just waiting to see how their weekend shakes out. Like, when's the best time to go see Wonder Woman? Not necessarily, I gotta see Wonder Woman Thursday night. I gotta go.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just interesting. Like I said, like, there is good hype for this movie, and then there's absolutely no hype. Nothing bad, just nothing. And that's a little weird. It feels weird to have that void. There's no one, like, there's no anti-Wonder Woman people. I think.
Well, there was that really bizarre protest that I feel like I totally missed, where they were doing like a female-only screening of Wonder Woman, which actually sounds
several of those across the country.
Which sound like great. Yeah, it sounded really cool. Actually, unfortunately, I can't go, but it still sounded really cool. Like,
you can wait outside and pick up chicks. Right? Yeah, totally.
Like, that sounded like pretty badass. Like that they kind of get their own screening. Like, I thought that was cool. But then apparently there's a bunch of like dickheads out there that were just like, they can't have their own movie. That's like discrimination. So it's like, just chill out, okay? Check your male privilege somewhere else. Like, go make more money than them. You'll feel fine, because apparently that's the sad truth. So.
They would not complain about male-only viewings of Superman or Batman.
Oh, yeah, so, that would not be good.
Yeah, so to me, whatever. Do whatever screenings you want to do with any movie. I don't care, as long as people are watching them and it's good.
Yeah.
So we'll take that. I probably should have put this up earlier, but Tom Holland has been cast in the Uncharted movie as a young Nathan Drake.
Yeah, so the only thing I know about Uncharted is it's kind of like a Indiana Jones video game. And I guess what I read when this news came out is there's flashbacks in one of the games where you see Nathan Drake as a young person, and I guess is that what Tom Holland's doing? Yeah.
So this essentially, the movie will be a prequel now, focusing on that young Nathan Drake. I assume probably like the young Indiana Jones Chronicles from the 2000s. So, and that's fine. I'm not too precious on Uncharted. I know a lot of people are, but Tom Holland has been knocking it out of the park with everything he's done. Not just Spider-Man, other movies as well. So I think this is fine. I mean, as long as they're moving along with it, sure.
All I have to say is good luck on that video game movie of yours, whatever studio is taking this on, because
it's a PlayStation exclusive. It's probably Sony.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't think it'll go very far. That's okay. Deadpool 2 has some news, though. We're going to switch it up and talk a little Fox universe here. Jack Kesey, I don't know who this guy is at all, has been cast as the main villain.
I like how literally as you were saying that, I was highlighting his name, pasting it into Google, so I could be like, wait, who's this guy?
Jack Kesey, I don't know who he is. He's been cast as the main villain. He looks like a villain. He looks like a Deadpool 2 villain. And he is very heavily rumored to play the character Black Tom Cassidy, I believe. Is his name Black Tom Cassidy? Yes, Black Tom Cassidy. Who is someone who has had two different power sets. One of them, he can like merge into like plant life and control like plant life kind of weirdly. And then I forget what the other one's like. He could just shoot like beams out of his hands or something. I don't know. Black Tom Cassidy is not a character you see a lot of in the comic books.
Well, I guess
he looks like a pirate.
I guess he does have a little bit of comic book cred, because now that I'm looking at him, he was in well, I guess technically maybe still is in that TV show The Strain, which was a Guillermo del Toro like comic book turned TV show on FX, which I had a funny moment when me and my wife were watching TV the other day. I was just like, did you know they're still making The Strain? Like the final season's like coming out this year. We were like, really? Because we watched like the first couple episodes and we just figured it was like it's kind of like a weird vampire Walking Dead type thing that just didn't really vibe with us. But I guess he's in that show, so he's no stranger to comic book nerdy stuff.
Yeah, and what I meant was with Black Tom Cassidy, he can discharge concussive blasts of force and heat through any wooden medium, only through wood.
Very specific.
So he had like a wooden stick he carried around. I remember because he looked like a pirate because he always had a wood stick. And I'm like, imagine like him having a wooden peg leg and doing that, just stomping at the ground and doing that. Either way. But then he was changed to where he could like a humanoid plant, and he could live in plant bodies and affect foliage and trees to make him part of his body. Really weird. I don't know which version they're going to go with, even if they go with him.
Well, the best part about Deadpool is even if he is facing off against a very bizarre villain for a movie, he would just make fun of it. Like, really? That's your power? Would matter? That's like weird, man. And then like he would like punch him and then make like a dick joke or something.
Yeah, exactly. A wood joke. Definitely, there's one in there. So, whatever happens, I trust Deadpool too. We got Josh Brolin and Ryan Reynolds and everyone, and it sounds fun to me. I'm good with it. And then we also got some new words on the New Mutants front here. That is going to be a horror film with no costumes and no traditional supervillain.
Whoa, really?
Yep, so it's going to be held in a secret facility against their will. 5 new mutants have to battle the dangers of their powers, as well as the sins of their past, and they aren't out to save the world, they're just trying to save themselves.
Oh, so this is intriguing. Because what do we always say about avoiding superhero fatigue? It's create unique superhero movies that all have their own tone. So if this is kind of our first real horror, scary superhero movie, I guess that's a good thing. They tried, what was it, Josh Trank, who tried to do that with the last Fantastic Four movie, which was over at Fox. He said he was trying to go like body horror or stuff like that. So maybe Fox has learned their lesson and are going to let them do what they want to do. But if this is true, it sounds cool, and if it actually pans out, it sounds cool.
So I don't know if Fox has learned their lesson. They're hit or miss.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
They have Dark Phoenix going on, which I feel is a big miss, and New Mutants, which I feel could be a big hit. So if they take the Deadpool approach, they're like, you know what, here you go. There's a property that people have seen the script on, has been leaked. Just go do whatever with it. Yeah, it's gonna be great. So I have good faith in this one more so than Dark Phoenix.
Well, and also this is going to be taking place in I believe the present day, so it could be maybe canonical with Deadpool maybe at some point in time. So at least we're back in the future and not in this weird, bizarre like jumping a decade every time we make an X-Men movie. So maybe I can look more forward to this because it feels more like a reboot, which is what I want from Fox. I want that reboot. And that Phoenix movie is not a reboot at all. We're just kind of getting these carried over characters from Apocalypse, which is a movie we didn't like.
Yeah, but if it goes by tradition, the next one should be okay, hopefully. I don't know. It's got like Star Trek syndrome. Like random movies are bad and random movies are good for no real rhyme or reason. So it's fun. But we got some casting news. Rosario Dawson, who's in like everything, is being cast as Dr. Cecilia Reyes, a doctor and former member of the X-Men, to generate a force field that's tied to her life force and will be her mentor, not like Xavier or Magneto in this one. So that's okay with my book. And then lastly, the character Sunspot has possibly been cast as by Henry Zaga, who's in like the Teen Wolf TV show.
All right, another young person that we're not familiar with.
Yes. So there's that, and I got 2 more bits of news here. Might end up the show. I don't have the links in here because I forgot to link them, but I don't know if you watched them or not. But there's a Castlevania animated series coming to Netflix.
Yes, I watched that. I believe it's I don't know if it's technically a full trailer or a teaser or just a mini trailer, but I did watch it and it looks kind of cool. Never really played a Castlevania game, but I like the whole idea of someone with a whip trying to kill a vampire. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I believe his name was like Alucard, which is just Dracula backwards. And I'm like, okay,
clever,
that's cool.
Clever, you Capcom. I believe it's Capcom.
Could be. I don't. Yeah, maybe. He might have been in those.
Is he in Marvel vs. Capcom ever?
If he isn't, the Capcom side.
Oh well, there you go. I don't know. Maybe it's Konami. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people are really, really into this, so that's good for them. And then lastly, last week there was a Dark Crystal series coming to Netflix as well. A live action Back to the Puppets. I think it's a prequel to the Dark Crystal. I
will be the first to admit. I don't know why that gives me any sort of street cred if I say first to admit. I don't believe I've ever seen this. So I think I've seen plenty of like screenshots and grabs, over the decades while I've been alive. But I don't think I've ever actually seen the original movie. So I think I do vaguely remember the puppets. So maybe I've seen parts of it on VHS when it's been thrown up on the old tube-style TV back in the house back in the days when I was probably playing with my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures. So I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of opinions on this, but I think we can trust Netflix for the most part. I mean, except for that Iron Fist, boondoggle.
Yeah, so what's really interesting about the Dark Crystal here is I'm a big Jim Henson fan, mostly because of the Muppets normally, but like this whole teaser is like Jim Henson talking about why, or at least not maybe Jim Henson, but why Jim Henson's vision of the Dark Crystal is so inspiring, and like original sketches of these characters and stuff like that, building up to this I guess Age of Resistance, which I think is definitely a prequel, but they're going back and using the puppets and building these original characters back to look like they belong in here. And there's nothing more unsettling than these Dark Crystal puppets.
Yeah, creepy puppets that can be a thing of nightmares.
Yeah, and they'll give you some nightmares. And the Dark Crystal, I think, is also it has some comic books that have been coming out recently. So there's like a resurgence in this late 80s cult movie. So Netflix, other than The Keepers, I believe you mentioned earlier, some new products, are also picking up some, adaptations. So Castlevania adaptation and this an adaptation prequel. So Netflix is just knocking it out of the park.
Nothing is safe from being mined. I believe I saw a blog the other day that said 15 of the top grossing movies from the 80s. Only 3 of them haven't been slated to be rebooted or remade or sequelized. So Hollywood's definitely going back and aging and grabbing what they can from the past.
Yep, no originals ideas out there anymore, Mike. So we're just going to suck it up and deal with it for now.
As long as they don't remake Back to the Future. I pray to God Robert Zemeckis lives as long as possible and somehow gives the rights to his kids or something. They can't remake that.
What if they it's a sequel reboot?
No,
He comes to the future.
No, no, Chris.
And they have to do. I'm gonna write him. I'm gonna write him a movie script pitch. So we're gonna go with that.
Oh gosh,
I'm at fault here. You put this in my head.
I'll put that on you, Ricky Bobby.
Yeah, that's right. So that's our news for the week. A little bit here, a little bit there, kind of all over the place. I love it. Good week full of news. But Mike, people want to know more about what you're doing, what you're up to, how you're spending your longer weekend here. Where can they figure that out?
Well, they can follow me at Mike Royer Design on Twitter and Instagram, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to know what you're up to, I have a feeling you're going to be in a market for a new drone soon because you seem to be sharing links with me for this new DJI drone. People want to follow you and see if you drop that cash on it. Where can they see that?
Oh man, it's so tempting. But you can find me on Twitter at Valdan, VALDAN. I'll definitely post stuff there. It's more of a play drone than a work drone, but that's okay. And then you can check out Comic UI and Filmside Chats and upcoming shows. I've got Animation Marvels and some other stuff. So I've got more
you're a busy
projects
man.
than I can shake a stick at, but that's okay. I love doing it. In the meantime, if people are listening for the first time and they want to know more about Superhero Slate, where can they find that out?
Well, as always, please visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our dear show. And to check out all the show notes we have for the show. So if you want to check out these trailers that we talked about and you don't want to hunt them down, just go look at our show notes and you can get links right to that stuff. So you can subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Tumblr. You can subscribe and get us right in your email inbox every week, and you can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to pick up some Superhero Slate merch, you can get that at superheroslate.com/store. You can get like shirts and mugs and I think maybe even mouse pads or something. I can't even keep track of all the stuff you can slap our logo on.
I have a mouse pad, but I want to give a shout out to listener Jason for buying a shirt this week.
Yeah, awesome.
I bought they were having a sale on them, and I bought one for me, and then he said he bought one. So, thank you, Jason, for supporting the show. Wearing it proud.
Super awesome, super sweet. If you're a fan of the show, please consider leaving us a review wherever you listen to the show, especially iTunes. That's super, super helpful. I know sometimes it seems like a drag, but there's probably just a couple taps on your smartphone. I think you could find that review somewhere. Leave us 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever you think the show deserves, and drop us a review. That's super helpful. And drop us a comment, a like, whatever you do, however you interact with this show on the interwebs. Just click that button, tap that screen, whatever you got to do. I don't know. But if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, Chris.
We will. And twice next week because the Wonder Woman spoiler cast.
Yes, that's right. So make sure you're subscribed so you have that pop up in your feed.
Well, if you're enjoying your Memorial Day barbecue cookout and listening to us while you grill those tasty meats, we thank you. If not, we'll see you next week.
All right. I'll see your tasty meats next week, Chris.
Oh, delicious. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, could you be a decent person for one episode?
Okay,
please?
I will.